Finally free of the burden. I heard my daughter-in-law whisper it as they walked to the elevator, laughing. They didn't know I was standing behind the pillar in the hotel lobby. They didn't know I'd heard every word. They also didn't know I'd just paid $5,400 for this luxury vacation, money. I'd saved by selling my wedding ring and baking cakes at farmers markets for 8 months, and they definitely didn't know what I was about to do. I stood there in the hotel lobby, watching my own children laughing as they walked to the elevator, without even looking back once. Monica, my daughter-in-law, had muttered something about finally being free of the burden, and they all laughed. They didn't know I'd heard every word. They didn't know I'd paid for every cent of this reservation with money I'd saved over 8 months by selling my cakes at the Sunday farmers market, hiding the coins one by one in a cookie tin behind the beans. They also didn't know what I was about to do. But let me start from the beginning, because it all began 3 weeks earlier, on a Tuesday afternoon. When the sun was streaming warmly through my kitchen window, I was preparing my afternoon coffee, as I did every day since my husband's death 4 years ago, when my phone rang. It was Ralph, my oldest son, with that gentle voice he always used when he needed something. "Mom, I have a wonderful idea," he said. And I felt that tingle in my chest that I always got when my children included me in their plans. "How about a family vacation over New Year's? All of us together, like old times." His voice sounded so enthusiastic that I could almost see his smile through the phone. I found a beautiful hotel on the coast. Pools, restaurants, activities for the kids. It would be perfect, Mom. I set the coffee pot on the table and felt tears of joy welling up in my eyes. It had been so long since I'd felt included, since I'd been invited to anything other than family dinners where I stayed quiet while they talked about their jobs, travels, and plans. I was always the one who served, who cleared the plates, who stayed in the kitchen while the others went to the living room. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "When would this be?" "First week of January. 7 days, Mom. Imagine, all of us. Me, Monica, Dennis, and Anna, the grandkids, and you, of course. Like one big happy family." He paused and added, "Just one small detail, Mom. The hotel requires one person to make the reservation. Could you take care of that? We'll transfer you the money later." Of course, that's how it always was. I was the one who put her name down, who provided the guarantee, who handled the formalities while they had the fun. But this time I didn't care. It was a chance to do something special for my family, to show them how much I loved them. "Of course, sweetheart. Count on me." That same afternoon, I called the hotel. The receptionist had a friendly, professional voice. "Golden Palms Resort. How may I help you?" "I'd like to make a reservation for 12 people, I said, feeling my heart beat faster. I'd never organized anything this big before. "Perfect, ma'am. For what dates?" "January 2nd through 9th. I heard the clicking of her keyboard. "Very good. That would be 5 family suites, full board, access to all activities. The total comes to $5,400. My breath caught. $5,400. My pension was $1,000 a month. I'd saved $2,300 selling cakes over 8 months. It wasn't enough. "Ma'am, are you still there?" Yes, sorry. Can I confirm the reservation and pay later?" "We require a 50% deposit to secure the reservation, ma'am. That would be $2,700. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my rocking chair, calculating over and over. I had $2,300 in cash, some savings for emergencies, and my wedding ring. The ring my husband had given me 40 years ago, with a small diamond that sparkled in the light. The next day, I went to the jeweler in town. Mr. Joachim. The owner was an older man who knew my whole family. "Elizabeth, how are you?" "Good, Joachim. I wanted to ask how much you'd give me for this ring." He examined it with his loupe, turning it between his wrinkled fingers. "It's a good piece, Elizabeth. I can give you $1,000. It felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. $1,000 for 42 years of marriage. But I thought of Ralph's smile, of the possibility of seeing my whole family happy together. Deal. With the money from the ring and my savings, I called the hotel that same afternoon and paid the deposit. The reservation was confirmed under my name, with my credit card as guarantee. 5 family suites, 12 people, 7 days full board. In the following weeks, I kept asking Ralph and Dennis about the money, but they said, "We'll talk about it later. What matters is that we're together." I kept selling cakes on Sundays, sewing for neighbors, saving every cent to make the final payment. My house got colder because I turned down the heat. I ate less meat, walked instead of taking the bus. Everything for this perfect family vacation. 3 days before the trip, Ralph called, excited. "Mom, you won't believe how much we're looking forward to these days. The kids are so excited. Monica's already packed everything. How's it going with the hotel preparations?" "Everything's ready, sweetheart. Just the final payment is missing." "Oh yeah, sure, we'll settle that on site. The main thing is we have fun." The night before the trip, I paid the entire reservation with my credit card. $5,400, my wedding ring, all my savings, and a debt on the card. But it was worth it. I would have 7 perfect days with my family. I had no idea what awaited me. On the morning of the trip, I got up before sunrise. I'd packed my suitcase the night before, every piece of clothing carefully folded, my best dresses selected, my mother's pearl necklace, comfortable shoes for beach walks. I felt like a child before Christmas. It had been so long since I'd looked forward to something this much. Ralph was picking me up at 7 a.m. We'd agreed to drive 3 hours to the hotel in 2 cars. I put on my light blue dress, the one Dennis always said made me look younger, and carefully applied my makeup. I wanted to look good for the family photos we'd surely take. At 7:30, Ralph honked from the street. I took my suitcase, locked the house, and walked to the car with a smile I couldn't suppress. In the passenger seat sat Monica, my daughter-in-law, scrolling on her phone. In the back, my 2 younger grandchildren were playing on a tablet. "Good morning, family," I said as I got in, but only the children answered with a distracted, "Hi, Grandma." Monica briefly looked up and muttered something resembling a greeting. Ralph started the engine. "Ready for the perfect family vacation?" I asked, trying to start a cheerful conversation. "Yes, Mom," Ralph said, but his voice sounded tired. "Monica, did you text Anna so they can follow us?" "Yes, they're on their way. Dennis drives like a snail, so we'll probably get there before them," Monica answered without looking up from her phone. During the drive, I tried several times to start a conversation. I asked about Ralph's work, their plans at the hotel, whether the children could swim. The answers were monosyllabic, sighs, half-smiles that quickly disappeared. Monica typed messages constantly, occasionally laughing at something on her screen. "What's so funny?" I asked once, trying to engage. "It's the WhatsApp group with my girlfriends," she said without looking at me. "Things you wouldn't understand." After that, I stayed quiet and looked out the window at the passing fields, small houses and trees changing color. I thought of all the cakes I'd sold to pay for this trip, the nights I'd stayed awake sewing, my wedding ring now sitting in a jeweler's vault. When we arrived at the hotel, my breath caught. It was more beautiful than I'd imagined from the internet photos. Tall palm trees swayed in the ocean breeze, perfectly manicured gardens with colorful flowers, a white facade gleaming in the midday sun. The entrance had water fountains making a soothing sound, and you could hear the ocean in the distance. "What a beautiful place," I exclaimed, my chest filling with joy. "I can hardly believe we're here." The children jumped excitedly out of the car and ran to the entrance. Ralph and Monica began taking suitcases from the trunk. At that moment, the second car arrived with Dennis, Anna, and the rest of the family. Marie, my 17-year-old granddaughter, was the only one who hugged me. "Grandma, this place is incredible," she said with shining eyes. "Did you see the pool? It's huge, and they have evening activities and themed restaurants." "I know, sweetheart. It's going to be a wonderful week," I replied, stroking her hair. At least someone shared my enthusiasm. We walked into the lobby, and I headed to reception. It was a large, elegant room with marble floors reflecting the light from crystal chandeliers, white leather sofas, and huge tropical plants in pots. The air smelled of fresh flowers and ocean breeze. "Good afternoon," I said to the receptionist, a young woman with a friendly smile. "I have a reservation under the name Elizabeth Wagner." She typed on her keyboard and smiled. "Of course, Mrs. Wagner, we've been expecting you. 5 family suites, 7 nights, full board for 12 people. Everything is in order." While she prepared the keys and explained the hotel services, I heard my sons whispering behind me. 5 suites, I heard Dennis say to Ralph. "I thought you said it would be simpler." "Mom organized everything," Ralph replied. We'll split the costs later. The receptionist handed me the keys in elegant palm-shaped keychains. The suites are on the 3rd floor, all with ocean views. Breakfast is from 6 to 10 a.m. in the main restaurant, lunch from noon to 3 p.m., and dinner from 6 to 10 p.m. You have full access to the spa, pools, sports activities, and evening entertainment. How wonderful, I exclaimed, my heart racing with excitement. Did you hear that, kids? We have access to everything. But when I turned to share my joy with the family, I froze. No one was there. Ralph, Dennis, Monica, Anna, and all the grandchildren had disappeared. Only Marie was still standing there, looking at me with a strange expression. Where is everyone? I asked, my stomach tightening. They went to the elevators, she replied, biting her lower lip. Dad said they'd get settled in the rooms and we'd meet later, without waiting for me, without the keys. Marie didn't answer, but I saw in her eyes that she was hiding something. We went to the elevators, but there was no trace of the family. We rode to the 3rd floor and searched the hallway, but it was as if they'd vanished. Marie, what's going on here? I asked, my voice trembling. She sighed and pulled out her phone. Grandma, you need to know something. They're in a family WhatsApp group. She hesitated, as if it took effort to continue speaking. What WhatsApp group? The one Dad, Uncle Ralph, Mom, and Aunt Monica made. It's called Vacation Without Drama. Her voice got quieter. Grandma, they didn't want you to come. It felt like the marble floor was swaying beneath my feet. What do you mean they didn't want me to come? But Ralph invited me. He asked me to organize everything. Marie showed me her phone with trembling hands. On the screen, I saw the group. The latest messages broke my heart into pieces. We're here. The old lady took care of everything as usual. Perfect. Now we can enjoy without her constantly hovering over us. Did you see how she got all excited at reception? Embarrassing. Well, at least she's useful for something. Let her stay in her room and watch TV while we take advantage. The words blurred before my eyes. Tears welled up. My throat constricted. $5,400, my wedding ring. 8 months of work. All so they could enjoy without drama. Without me. Grandma. Marie's voice sounded far away. Grandma, are you okay? No, I wasn't okay. But I also wasn't finished. I stood there in the hotel, the 5 keys in my trembling fingers, while Marie looked at me with tear-filled eyes. The messages in the WhatsApp group continued, each one like a stab to the heart. Hopefully she won't bug us again with family dinners. Don't worry, Monica. If she gets to be too much, we'll say she's tired and should rest. The main thing is the kids have fun. She can do whatever she wants. I'm not dealing with her. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. The hallway smelled of cleaning products and fresh flowers, but all I tasted was the bitter humiliation in my mouth. For 40 years, I'd raised these children. I'd given up my dreams for theirs. I'd sold my wedding ring to give them this perfect vacation, and this was how they thanked me. Marie, I said in a voice I barely recognized myself. How long has this group existed? She scrolled back on her phone. Since Uncle Ralph suggested the vacation to you. Grandma, look here. He created it the same day. She showed me the screen. There it was, clear as day. Group created December 2nd by Ralph Wagner. The same day, my son had called me with his gentle voice to invite me on my dream family vacation. I read the older messages, each worse than the last. Talked to Mom. She swallowed everything. She thinks she can handle it. You know how she is with technology. Whatever. If she messes up, we'll fix it. The main thing is, she pays. Brilliant. Free vacation and no family drama, but nothing with activities together. Everyone does their thing. The words blurred through the tears I could no longer hold back. But there were more. Newer messages that made the extent of their betrayal clear. Did you confirm the hotel allows changes to the reservation? Yes, Dennis asked at reception. Since it's in Mom's name, she can make changes. Perfect. Tomorrow we'll convince her to transfer the rooms to our names, just in case. And on the last day, we say there was an error with the bill and the hotel needs someone else to pay. There it was. They hadn't just planned to ignore me during the vacation. They wanted to leave me with the entire debt. They'd used me to organize and pay for their perfect vacation, and planned to leave me alone with the bill. Grandma. Marie gently touched my arm. What are you going to do? The question echoed in my head. What would I do? The old Elizabeth would have cried quietly, swallowed the humiliation, pretended she hadn't seen anything. She would have spent 7 days in her room, ordered room service so as not to bother the family in the restaurants, watched TV while they enjoyed the pool, beach, evening activities that I'd paid for. But something in me had changed. Maybe it was the moment my wedding ring disappeared into the jeweler's hands. Maybe it was the 8 months I'd gotten up before sunrise to bake cakes and sell them at the farmer's market. Maybe it was the realization that my own children saw me as a walking wallet, useful for paying and organizing, but annoying to include. I don't know yet. Sweetheart, I answered Marie, wiping away tears with the back of my hand. But I'm not going to stand here crying. We went to my suite. It was beautiful. A king-size bed with spotless white sheets, a balcony with a direct view of the ocean, a marble bathroom with a deep tub. Everything I dreamed of for months while saving cent by cent. But now it felt empty, like a stage for a play where I was only the financier, not the star. I sat on the bed and Marie stood at the window, looking toward the beach where I could already see some family members. Ralph and Dennis were in the pool with their children. Monica and Anna were drinking cocktails under an umbrella. Everyone laughing, enjoying as if nothing had happened. You know what hurts the most? I said to Marie. It's not the money, not even the lies. It's that I thought we'd finally be a real family again, that we'd create beautiful memories together. Marie turned around and I saw her eyes were red. Grandma, I tried to tell them it was wrong. When Dad added me to the group, I said it was unfair. But they said I wouldn't understand, that adults sometimes have to make difficult decisions. Difficult decisions, I repeated. That's what I am to them. A difficult decision. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a message from Ralph. Mom, we're having lunch at the beach restaurant. We reserved you a spot if you want to come. He wasn't even inviting me to lunch. He wasn't even pretending he wanted my company. I went to the balcony. The ocean stretched endlessly before me, the waves gently rolling onto the shore, and a warm breeze moved the white curtains of the room. It was exactly as I'd imagined it all those months of sacrifice. But my family wasn't there to enjoy it with me. Marie, I said without turning around, you knew I paid for everything? What do you mean everything? The entire reservation. $5,400. I sold your grandfather's wedding ring to make the deposit, I heard her gasp. Grandma, I didn't know. Dad always said they'd split the costs among everyone. A lie. I paid every cent and they knew it. They knew I didn't have the money. They knew I had to make sacrifices, and still they took advantage of me. I turned and saw Marie was crying. Grandma, this is so wrong. I have to tell my parents that they... I interrupted her with a firmness that surprised even me. You're not going to tell them anything. Not yet. But what are you going to do? I looked once more toward the beach, where my family was enjoying the vacation I'd given them without them knowing it. I thought of all the times they'd made me invisible, the occasions when they'd treated me like a piece of furniture. Useful, but annoying. I'm going to think, I replied. And while I'm thinking, I'll act as if I haven't seen those messages, as if I know nothing. Why? For the first time in days, I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but something colder, more calculated. Because, sweetheart, the best revenge is served cold, and I have a whole week to plan mine. I spent the afternoon in my room, sitting in the armchair on the balcony, watching my family have fun on the beach. I'd ordered room service, as Ralph had suggested, but the food remained untouched on the tray. I had no appetite. What I had was a mental clarity I hadn't felt in years. I took out my notebook, the small blue one where I recorded my daily expenses, and began to write. First, all the details of the reservation. Dates, prices, confirmations. Then screenshots of the WhatsApp messages Marie had shown me. Everything documented, everything with the precision of someone who'd learned that in life. You can only trust what's on paper. While I wrote, my phone rang constantly. Messages from the official family group, the one with my name in it, full of photos of them at the pool, at the restaurant, on the beach. What an awesome place. Mom, the kids are so happy. Thanks for organizing everything. Each message was like a punch disguised as affection. But there were also messages from the secret group that Marie was forwarding from her room. Each one confirmed what I already knew. I was just a means to an end. The old lady is super quiet. Perfect. Hopefully she won't show up at dinner. The kids want to eat in peace. Tomorrow we'll ask her for the keys to the other rooms. In case we need privacy. As if my presence violated their family intimacy. As if I weren't their mother. Their mother-in-law. Their grandmother. At 6 p.m., Marie knocked on my door. She was dressed for dinner, in a floral dress, her hair up. She looked beautiful, but her eyes still showed traces of the afternoon's tears. "Grandma, are you going to dinner?" "I don't know, sweetheart." "What do you think?" She sat on the bed, nervously playing with her hands. "I think you should go, not because they deserve it, but because you paid for that dinner, and you have the right to enjoy it." I smiled. My granddaughter was wiser than her family realized. "You're right. I'm going." I got ready carefully. I put on my black dress, the elegant one I'd bought especially for this trip at a thrift store, but that fit me perfectly. I applied makeup, put on my pearl earrings, sprayed some of my mother's perfume. If I was going to face my family, I'd do it flawlessly. The main restaurant was spectacular. Tables with white tablecloths, burning candles, huge windows overlooking the ocean where the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. The place I'd dreamed of for years but never thought I could afford. When I arrived, my family was already seated at a large round table. Ralph saw me first and waved, but his smile seemed forced. "Mom, glad you're here. We already ordered appetizers." I sat in the only empty chair, strategically placed so my back was to the ocean. "Coincidence, of course. How was your afternoon, Elizabeth?" asked Anna, my younger daughter-in-law, with that sweet voice she used when other people were around. "Very quiet," I replied, pouring myself water from the carafe. I rested, read a bit, enjoyed the view from my balcony. "How nice," Monica said without looking up from the menu. "We were at the pool all day. The kids didn't want to get out of the water." "You seem to have had a lot of fun," I observed, watching my grandchildren, tanned and happy. At least they were truly enjoying the vacation. During dinner, the conversation proceeded as if nothing had happened. They talked about the spa, activities for the next day, the perfect weather, how delicious the food was. I nodded, smiled at the right moments, made occasional comments, but internally I was noting every detail. I noticed how Dennis ordered the most expensive bottle of wine from the menu without asking me, as if it were obvious I would pay. I noticed how Monica ordered 2 desserts to try them, then only took 1 bite of each. I noticed how Ralph told the kids they could order whatever they wanted, no limit, because Grandma invited us all. But what hurt the most was something else. When my little grandson Tom, 8 years old, asked if we could build sandcastles together the next day, Monica immediately interrupted. "Honey, Grandma's too tired to be at the beach all day. Play with your cousins instead." "But I want to play with Grandma," Tom insisted. "Older people need more rest," Anna said, patting his head. "You'll have plenty of time to play with Grandma at home." Older people, as if I were a fragile relic in a museum, too weak to participate in real life. I'm 65, not 90, I thought. I can damn well build sandcastles. "You know," I said with a smile that I hoped seemed natural, "I'd love to build sandcastles with you, Tom. Tomorrow after breakfast. Does that sound good?" I saw Monica and Anna exchange a quick glance. That silent communication of people used to manipulating situations. "Well, we'll see what the weather's like tomorrow," Monica finally said. After dinner, as we walked back to the elevators, I heard Dennis whisper to Anna, "Tomorrow morning we'll go to the spa. Take the kids to the kiddie pool so they don't bother Mom." Tomorrow morning, exactly when I'd wanted to build sandcastles with Tom. How convenient. In the elevator, Ralph asked me, "Mom, do you need help with anything?" "The hotel paperwork, the keys, anything?" There it was. They were beginning their plan to take control of the reservation away from me. "No, sweetheart. Everything's perfect. I have it all under control. I just thought it might be easier if one of us handled the technical details, so you don't have to worry." "Thank you for the offer." but it's really not necessary." I saw the frustration in his eyes for a split second before he smiled again. When I got to my room, Marie was already waiting in the hallway. "How was dinner, Grandma?" "Educational," I replied as I opened the door. "Very educational." We went inside and she sat in the armchair while I took off my shoes and put my purse on the table. "Grandma, I've been thinking all afternoon. What they're doing is so wrong and I can't stay quiet." Marie listened to me carefully. "I know you have good intentions, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that?" She nodded, though she looked confused. "Good. Then I want you to keep sending me messages from the secret group, but I want you to act normal. Don't let them notice I know anything." "But why?" I sat across from her and took her hands. They were soft and young, without the wrinkles and scars mine had from 40 years of work and sacrifice. Because, sweetheart, when someone betrays you, the worst thing you can do is confront them immediately. The best thing is to let them think their plan is working while you prepare your own. Do you have a plan? I'm developing one. Marie was quiet for a moment, then asked, "Grandma, have you ever felt something like this? This anger, this huge disappointment?" I looked toward the balcony, where the full moon was reflected in the waves. It was a beautiful, romantic sight I would have enjoyed with my husband if he were still alive. "Only once," I replied, "when your grandfather died and I realized I'd have to manage the rest of my life alone. But this time it's different." "Why?" "Because the pain when your grandfather died was inevitable, part of life. But this was a choice. My children chose to hurt me, to take advantage of me, to betray me, and choices have consequences." That night, after Marie went to her room, I stayed up late, not watching TV or reading, but thinking, planning. For the first time in years, I felt powerful, because I had something they didn't know I had: information. And as my husband always said, information is power. Tomorrow, I would start using it. I woke before sunrise, as I'd done the last 8 months when I got up early to bake cakes. But this time it wasn't out of duty, but from a strange energy I hadn't felt in years. I made coffee with the machine in the room and sat on the balcony to watch the sun rise over the ocean, going through my notebook at 7:30 a.m. My phone vibrated with a message from Marie. It was a screenshot from the secret WhatsApp group just sent. "Plan for today. Morning beach, afternoon spa. Kids in kiddie pool with hotel babysitter. Lunch at beach restaurant without the old lady. If she asks, we say it was a spontaneous plan. Perfect. And don't forget, today we ask for the keys to the other rooms." Any believable excuses? We say we need access for emergencies, or that the kids are planning a surprise party in one of the suites. They couldn't even invent an original lie. But what angered me most was the babysitter thing. They'd hired someone to watch my grandchildren instead of asking me, their own grandmother, as if I were a dangerous stranger instead of the woman who'd raised them as babies when their parents were working. At 8 a.m., I went to breakfast in the restaurant. It was early and only a few people were there. The room was beautiful in the morning, with golden sunlight streaming through the windows and the gentle sound of waves in the background. I sat at a table by the window and ordered coffee, fresh fruit, and scrambled eggs. While I ate, I observed the other families in the restaurant. An elderly couple laughing as they shared croissants, their wrinkled hands intertwined on the table. A young family where the parents fed a baby while the grandmother held the older child on her lap, telling stories that made him laugh. Real families who included each other, where grandparents were an important part, not an obstacle to be tolerated. At 9 a.m., I saw my family heading to the beach area. Ralph, Dennis, Monica, and Anna walked together, chatting animatedly, while the children ran excitedly ahead. No one looked toward the restaurant where I was sitting. They didn't even wonder if I'd had breakfast or if I was okay. I drank my coffee slowly, enjoying every sip. Then I went back to my room and took out all the reservation documents I'd brought. Hotel confirmation, payment receipts, copy of my credit card, everything neatly organized in a folder I'd carefully prepared. At 10:30 a.m., I went to reception. "Good morning, Mrs. Wagner." The receptionist from the day before greeted me. "Are you enjoying your stay?" "Very much, thank you." "I have a question. This reservation is entirely in my name and was paid for with my credit card, correct? She checked her computer. Exactly, ma'am. Everything is registered under your name, Elizabeth Wagner. 5 suites for 7 nights, full board, all services included, fully paid. And if I wanted to make changes to the reservation, would I have the authority to do so? Of course. As the owner of the reservation and the payer, you have full control. Would you like to make any changes? Not at the moment. Just one more question. Can you add a security note that any change requires my personal, in-person confirmed consent? The receptionist looked at me curiously but nodded professionally. Of course. Would you like to add a specific instruction? Yes. I'd like it registered that I, Elizabeth Wagner, am the only person authorized to make changes to this reservation. No one from my family may alter dates, services, or transfer the rooms to another name without my physical presence and identification. Understood? I'll add that to the system right away. While she typed, I observed the lobby. It was early, but there was already activity. Guests heading to the beach, families planning their day, hotel staff serving with professional smiles. Everything seemed normal and perfect. But I knew that in a few hours, when my family returned from the spa, they'd try to implement their plan, to take control away from me. Done. Mrs. Wagner, is there anything else I can do for you? One last thing. What's the hotel's cancellation policy? That depends on the type of reservation. In your case, since you paid the full amount in advance, you can cancel up to 24 hours before final checkout without penalty. With less time, 1 night is retained. Understood. And if I wanted to shorten the stay, would I get the unused nights refunded? Yes, ma'am. You'd be refunded the amount for the remaining nights, minus a penalty if applicable. Perfect. Thank you for the information. I went back to my room with a strange feeling. For the first time in months, I felt in control. I wasn't the helpless old woman my children thought I was. I was the owner of the reservation, with all the decision-making power, who'd paid every cent. At 11:30 a.m., Marie knocked on my door. She came in excited, her hair wet from the pool chlorine. Grandma, I have to tell you something urgent. What's wrong? I was at the kiddie pool with my cousins when I heard Dad on the phone. He was talking to someone from the bank. My blood froze. From the bank? Yes, he was asking how to dispute a credit card charge. He talked about a hotel, about unauthorized expenses. Marie sat on the bed, visibly worried. Grandma, I think they want to claim you made expenses without the family's consent. The room started spinning. They didn't just want to ruin my vacation and take control of the reservation. They also wanted to pin the entire debt on me and dispute the charges so they wouldn't have to pay anything. Are you sure about what you heard? Absolutely. After the call, Dad went to Uncle Ralph and the aunts. I saw them talking quietly, but I heard Dad say, "It's in the works. It should be done by tomorrow. They'd planned everything. They probably wanted to use all the hotel services until the last day, then start the dispute, leaving me not just humiliated, but bankrupt. I stood up and went to the balcony. The ocean was still there, beautiful and indifferent to human dramas. The waves came and went with the same constancy as always, but something in me had changed since yesterday. It was no longer just disappointment or sadness. It was something colder, more determined. Marie, I said without turning around. Do you trust me? Of course, Grandma. Then I need you to do something for me. And it's very important that you don't tell anyone what I'm about to say. I turned and looked directly into her eyes. I want you tonight, when everyone's asleep, to come to my room. We're going to have a very important conversation about this family's future. What are you going to do? I'm going to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. At that moment, my phone rang. It was a message from the official family group. Mom, we're having lunch on the beach. We reserved you a spot if you want to come. Liars. I knew exactly they'd planned to eat without me. But this time, instead of feeling hurt, I felt strangely amused. Tell your dad thank you very much, but I have other plans, I said to Marie. Plans? And I wasn't lying. I really did have other plans. Plans that were taking shape in my mind with a clarity that surprised even me. I'd spend the afternoon while my family had fun on the beach with the money I'd paid, making some very important calls. First stop, my bank. Second stop, hotel reception. Third stop, my lawyer. Because if my children thought they could play games with me, they were dead wrong. The game had just begun, and this time I held all the cards. While my family had fun on the beach, thinking they'd found the perfect formula for a free vacation, I sat in my room executing my own plan. In 65 years, I'd learned that patience is a woman's most powerful weapon, especially when she's underestimated. My first call was to the bank. After 20 minutes navigating automated menus, I finally spoke to a human. National Bank, Carmen speaking. How may I help you? Good afternoon, Carmen. This is Elizabeth Wagner. I need to report a possible fraud attempt on my credit card. After confirming my information, I explained the situation with the care of someone who'd thought through every word. Carmen, I have reason to believe someone in my family will try to dispute legitimate charges I've made. Specifically, a hotel reservation for $5,400 that I authorized and personally paid for. I understand your concern. Mrs. Wagner, do you have evidence of this possible fraudulent dispute attempt? Yes, I have all the reservation documents, payment confirmations, and witnesses who can verify I authorized all charges. Additionally, my granddaughter heard my son on the phone today, discussing disputing these amounts. Carmen took notes of everything and explained the process. I'll place a protective note on your account, Mrs. Wagner. If anyone attempts to dispute these amounts, it will automatically trigger an investigation requiring substantial evidence of actual fraud. Until then, the charges remain valid unless proven otherwise. I'll email you a form so you can document everything about this possible family fraud attempt. After the conversation with the bank, I felt like I'd won the first battle in a war that had just begun, but I needed more ammunition. My second call was to hotel reception. Good afternoon. Could I please speak with the manager? 5 minutes later, a man with a friendly voice answered. Mrs. Wagner, this is Michael Herman, the hotel manager. The receptionist said you wanted to speak with me. Yes. Mr. Herman, I have a delicate family situation and need to ensure certain information is officially recorded. I explained that I'd paid for the entire reservation as a surprise for my family, but had discovered they wanted to fraudulently dispute the charges. I understand. Mrs. Wagner, unfortunately, this isn't the first time we've seen such family situations. What do you need from us? First, written confirmation that I'm the sole owner of the reservation and paid for everything voluntarily. Second, if anyone in my family tries to make changes without my presence, I want to be contacted immediately. Of course, I'll issue an official confirmation with all the details of your reservation and payment. I'll also inform all reception staff about the situation. One more thing, Mr. Herman. Would it be possible to schedule a meeting tomorrow morning? I believe I'll need to make some changes to the reservation. Of course. Does 9 a.m. work? Perfect. My third call was the most important. I searched my notebook for the number of Mr. Joachim Richter, the attorney who'd helped my husband with his will, and had handled some minor family matters over the years. Richter Law Office. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Is Mr. Joachim available? This is Elizabeth Wagner. Mrs. Elizabeth. How nice to hear from you. Mr. Joachim is in a meeting. But I can interrupt him if it's urgent. It's urgent. 3 minutes later, Mr. Joachim's familiar voice came on. Elizabeth, how are you? Is everything all right? No, Joachim. Nothing is all right. I urgently need legal advice. I told him the whole story. The vacation, the WhatsApp messages, the plan to dispute the charges. Mr. Joachim listened without interrupting, occasionally making disapproving sounds. Elizabeth, this is very serious. What your sons are planning is financial fraud and elder abuse. Elder abuse? Yes. Taking financial advantage of someone from the older generation through deception is a criminal offense. Additionally, disputing legitimate charges is bank fraud. What can I do? Several things. First, good that you contacted the bank. Second, I'll email you a document you need to sign and have notarized. It's an affidavit that you voluntarily paid all travel expenses. Is there a notary at the hotel? Most large hotels offer notary services for guests. Ask the manager. What else can I do? Elizabeth, I need to ask you an important question. Do you want to take legal action against your sons? The question hit me like a punch. Legal action against Ralph and Dennis, the children I'd raised, nursed when they were sick, sacrificed so much for. I don't know, Joachim. I just want them to stop. I understand. But you should know you have options. You can sue them for fraud, change your will, take measures to protect your assets. Think about it. After the conversation with Mr. Joachim, I sat in silence for several minutes. The sun was setting, bathing my room in golden colors. I could hear the cheerful voices of my family returning from the beach, laughing about dinner plans. At 6 p.m., someone knocked on my door. It was Ralph. "Hi, Mom. How was your afternoon?" "Very productive, sweetheart." "Productive? What did you do?" "Important calls, paperwork, adult stuff." I saw his smile become somewhat forced. "Mom, speaking of paperwork, Dennis and I were thinking it might be easier if we handled some of the hotel details, so you don't have to worry." There it was, the first official move in their plan. What details? Well, the keys to the other rooms, in case there's an emergency and we need access. What kind of emergency would require you to have access to rooms that aren't yours? Ralph seemed taken aback by the direct question. "I don't know, Mom. We just thought it would be more practical." "Ralph," I said with the calmest voice I could muster. "I'm 65, not 95. I can handle the room keys just fine. Sure." "Mom, I didn't mean to say you can't. I just thought..." "What exactly did you think?" I saw him get nervous, searching for the right words to manipulate the situation without being too obvious. "Nothing, Mom. Forget it. Are you coming to dinner?" "Of course. My money is paying for that dinner, isn't it?" The question surprised him. "Your money? Whose money would it be?" "Exactly, Ralph, whose?" "Well, sure, you're right. We'll split everything at the end of the trip, as discussed." "When did we discuss that?" Ralph was silent for a moment, clearly confused by my changed attitude. The submissive, compliant Elizabeth he'd expected wasn't there. "Well, Mom, I thought it was clear we'd split the costs among everyone." "Ralph, did I ever ask you if you wanted to split the costs? Did we ever agree this would be a shared expense?" "Mom, I don't understand why you're asking these questions." I stood and walked to the door. "Let's go eat, sweetheart. I'm hungry." As we walked to the elevator, I could feel his confusion. Their plan assumed I was predictable and easy to handle. But I was no longer the same woman who'd arrived at the hotel 2 days ago. At dinner, I watched my family with new eyes. I saw how each of them enjoyed the food I'd paid for, the expensive drinks they ordered without thinking, the multiple desserts they ordered on a whim. I saw how they talked about the next day's plans as if I weren't there, as if my presence were optional. But I saw something else too. I saw Marie watching me with worried eyes, recognizing that something in me had changed. I saw my younger grandchildren truly enjoying the vacation, knowing nothing of the adults' betrayal. And something important became clear to me. Not everyone at this table had betrayed me. That night, after everyone had gone to their rooms, Marie came to me as agreed. "Grandma, what's going on?" "Dad seems so strange at dinner. He seems strange because his plan isn't going as expected." I told her about my calls that day, the measures I'd taken to protect myself, the meeting with the hotel manager in the morning. "Are you going to cancel the trip?" she asked, wide-eyed. "No, sweetheart. I'm going to do something much better." "What?" I smiled, and for the first time in days, it was a genuine, unforced smile. "I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve." At 5 a.m., I was awake, not because I'd set an alarm, but because my body had developed this rhythm in recent months of getting up early for cake sales. But this time, instead of the familiar exhaustion and obligation, I felt a strange energy. Today was the day everything would change. I showered leisurely, put on my best outfit, the navy blue suit I'd bought for my husband's funeral but never worn for an important occasion, and went to the restaurant. It was 6:30 a.m., and the room was almost empty. Perfect. I needed peace to review my notes one more time, while I drank my coffee and checked the documents Mr. Joachim had emailed me overnight. Michael Herman, the hotel manager, walked in. He was an elegant man in his 40s with that warm professionalism that distinguishes people who truly understand their job. "Mrs. Wagner, good morning. Sleep well?" "Very well, thank you. Can we move up our meeting? I'd like to discuss a few things before my family wakes up." "Of course. Would you like to go to my office?" "Yes, that would be perfect." His office was elegant but cozy, with a view of the hotel gardens. On the walls hung diplomas, photos of special events, and a coffee machine he immediately offered me. "Mrs. Wagner, I discussed your case with our legal team last night. We want to make sure we fully understand the situation." your legal team? Yes. Cases like yours, though unfortunately not rare, require certain protocols to protect both the guest and the hotel. Michael opened a folder on his desk. Let me confirm. You paid for the entire reservation, $5,400, with your own credit card without coercion, as a surprise for your family. Is that correct? Absolutely correct. And you have evidence that some family members are planning to fraudulently dispute these charges? Yes. My granddaughter heard my son talking to the bank about disputing charges, and I have WhatsApp messages where they discuss their plan. I understand. I have 2 documents here I'd like you to review. The first document was an official hotel statement confirming all the details of my reservation and payment. The second was more interesting, an addendum to the contract giving me sole authority over every aspect of the stay. What does this mean exactly? I asked, pointing to the second document. It means that as the paying person and owner of the reservation, you have absolute control. You can decide who stays and who goes. You can change services, even cancel specific rooms if you wish. My pulse quickened. I can cancel specific rooms? Absolutely. There are 5 suites reserved under your name. You can keep all 5, or cancel 1, 2, 3, or even 4 if you want. The people in those rooms would then have to find alternative accommodation or leave the hotel. The idea took shape in my mind with crystalline clarity. Michael, when is checkout time? Normally noon, but we can be flexible depending on circumstances. And if someone needs to check out earlier, that's also possible. Are you considering making changes to the reservation? I was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the gardens where gardeners were already working. It was early, but the day promised to be beautiful, sunny, perfect for the beach. The day my family had planned to fully enjoy, on my dime. Michael, I'd like to make some changes, but they need to be executed exactly as I explain. Of course, I'm all ears. I want to cancel 4 of the 5 suites. Michael raised his eyebrows slightly, but maintained his professional demeanor. Which ones exactly? I took out my notebook where I'd written down the room numbers. Suites 301, 302, 304, and 305. I only want to keep 303. Mine. Understood. And when should these cancellations take effect? Today, but not immediately. I want you to first disable access to these rooms at 10 a.m. The key cards won't work anymore. And at 11 a.m., I want hotel staff to visit these suites to inform the guests they must vacate the rooms by noon due to changes in the reservation. Michael took notes as I spoke. Without judgment, completely professional. Are there specific instructions for the staff? Yes. They should explain that the owner of the reservation, me, has decided to modify the stay. That it's not the hotel's fault, but a personal decision by the person who paid for the reservation. And if they ask where they can find me to speak with me, you can say I'm available in Suite 303, but only if they speak civilly. If there's shouting, threats, or disrespect toward hotel staff, they should call security. Michael finished his notes and looked at me with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Mrs. Wagner, may I ask what led you to this decision? Michael, do you have a family? Yes, a wife and 2 small children. Do you love them? Of course. I'd do anything for them without hesitation. And if they betrayed you? If you found out they were taking advantage of you, were ashamed of you, were planning to defraud you? Michael was quiet for a moment. I think I understand. For 40 years, I've raised my children. I fed them, clothed them, nursed them when they were sick. I worked for their education. I gave up my dreams for theirs. And now, when I thought we could finally enjoy time as a family, I discover they see me as an obstacle. Useful for paying bills, annoying to include. I'm very sorry. Mrs. Wagner, don't apologize, Michael. This isn't sadness. This is liberation. I signed all necessary documents, including the affidavit Mr. Joachim had prepared. Michael called a hotel notary who arrived in 10 minutes to authenticate everything. One last thing, I said to Michael. When we're done, could you arrange a taxi for 12:30 p.m.? For how many people? Just 2. My granddaughter Marie and me? To the airport? No, to another hotel where we can truly enjoy a vacation. Michael smiled for the first time during the entire meeting. It will be my pleasure to help you with that as well. When I returned to my room, it was 8:30 a.m. My family was surely already awake, planning another perfect day without me. But this time, Everything would be different. I sat on the balcony with a fresh cup of coffee I'd ordered from room service and waited. At 9 a.m., I'd get the first message from Marie with the conversations from the secret group. At 10 a.m., the keycards would stop working. At 11 a.m., hotel staff would knock on their doors, and for the first time in my life, I'd have complete control. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Ralph. "Mom, we're going to breakfast. Are you coming?" I replied, "Thanks. I have other plans today." "What plans?" "You'll see, sweetheart. You'll see." I looked at my watch. It was 8:55 a.m. In 5 minutes, the countdown would begin. The moment my family would discover they'd vastly underestimated the woman who'd given them life. And honestly, I couldn't wait to see their faces. At exactly 9 a.m., my phone vibrated with the first message from Marie. It was a screenshot from the secret WhatsApp group. Just sent, perfect plan for today. Morning beach, afternoon spa. The old lady will probably stay in her room like yesterday. Great. After lunch, we'll talk to reception so they give us control over the other rooms. Did you confirm the thing with the bank, Dennis? Yes. This afternoon, the dispute process should start. Tomorrow, we won't have to worry about costs anymore. Each message was another confirmation that I'd made the right decision. No doubt, no guilt, no room for regret. They'd chosen this path. At 9:30 a.m., another message came from Marie. "Grandma, they're all at the pool. Dad just said after lunch he's going to reception to handle the room thing. I also heard Aunt Monica say today is the last day. They have to pretend everything's okay. The last day. They had to pretend my company was an unbearable performance that was finally ending." I poured myself another cup of coffee and settled comfortably in the armchair on the balcony. From there, I could see the pool where my family was having fun. Ralph and Dennis were in the water with some of the grandchildren. Monica and Anna were drinking cocktails under an umbrella. Everyone laughing, relaxed, happy, fully taking advantage of the vacation I'd paid for while planning their betrayal. At 10:05 a.m., Michael called. "Mrs. Wagner, the system is ready. In 2 minutes, the key cards for suites 301, 302, 304, and 305 will be deactivated." "Perfect, Michael. Is your staff prepared?" "Absolutely. We have the security team on standby, and the housekeeping staff has been instructed on how to handle the situation diplomatically but firmly." "Excellent. I'll see you in an hour." I looked at my watch. 10:07, 10:08, 10:09. At that moment, my family's key cards had just become useless pieces of plastic. They couldn't enter their rooms, couldn't access their things, couldn't change or shower after the pool. I waited. It didn't take long. At 10:17 a.m., I saw Anna get up from her chair at the pool and head to the elevators. She probably wanted to get something from her room. At 10:21 a.m., my phone vibrated with an urgent message from Marie. "Grandma, Mom is yelling at reception. She says her keycard doesn't work." 3 minutes later, another message. Now they're all there. Dad is totally upset. The receptionist is explaining something to them, but I can't hear it well from here. At 10:30 a.m., Ralph called. His voice sounded tense, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath. "Mom, there's a problem with the rooms. The keys aren't working. Can you come to reception and help us figure this out?" "What kind of problem?" "We don't know. The receptionist says there was a change in the reservation, but that's impossible, because no one changed anything." "How strange," I said in the most innocent voice I could muster. "Are you sure you didn't change anything?" "Of course not, Mom. Can you come? We need to resolve this quickly. The kids want to go back to the rooms." "I'm kind of busy right now, sweetheart. But don't worry. I'm sure it'll get sorted out soon." "Busy with what?" "Important things." I hung up before he could answer. At 10:45 a.m., Marie sent another message. "Grandma, the hotel manager is talking to Dad and Uncle Ralph. They look very worried. Aunt Monica is arguing with a receptionist." At 10:50 a.m., my phone rang again. This time it was Dennis. "Mom, you need to come to reception right now. There's a big misunderstanding, and only you can clear it up." "What kind of misunderstanding?" "The hotel is saying, that you canceled our rooms." "That's ridiculous, right? Tell them it's a mistake." "Why would that be ridiculous, Dennis?" "What? Why?" "Because there's no reason to cancel our rooms." "Isn't there?" There was a long silence on the other end. "Mom, what's going on?" "I'm sure Michael explained it to you well." "Michael? You know the manager?" "Of course. We had a very productive meeting this morning. More silence. When Dennis spoke again, his voice had completely changed. Mom, did you cancel our rooms? Yes, why? Because I can. And I did. I hung up. At exactly 11 a.m., I saw hotel staff head to the pool area from the balcony. There were 3 people. Michael, a woman who appeared to be from guest services, and a man from security in plain clothes. I watched them approach my family, saw Michael speaking with Ralph and gesturing toward the hotel. I saw the shocked, confused, and then angry faces of my sons and daughters-in-law. I saw the grandchildren, who didn't understand what was happening, run to their parents seeking explanations. At 11:15 a.m., someone pounded heavily on my door. It wasn't a polite knock. It was loud, urgent, desperate banging. I opened the door, and there they all stood. Ralph, Dennis, Monica, and Anna. Their faces were a collage of anger, confusion, panic, and disbelief. Behind them in the hallway, I saw some of my grandchildren waiting with their beach bags in hand. Can someone explain to me what the hell is going on? Monica screamed before I could say a word. Good morning, everyone, I replied calmly, stepping aside so they could enter. Don't come at us with irony, Elizabeth, Monica continued. The hotel says you canceled our rooms. That's ridiculous. Why is that ridiculous? Because we're your family. Since when? Ralph stepped forward, trying to use his most conciliatory voice. Mom, there's clearly a misunderstanding here. Let's go to reception and clear this up. There's no misunderstanding, Ralph. I canceled your rooms because you're no longer welcome in my vacation. Your vacation? Anna looked genuinely confused. I thought it was a family vacation. So did I until I found out you don't consider me family. What are you talking about? Dennis frowned. I took out my phone and showed them the screenshots of the secret WhatsApp group that Marie had sent me. I watched their faces pale as they read their own messages. That's not... Ralph searched for words. That's not what it looks like. Then explain to me what free vacation without family drama means, Ralph. The silence in the room was deafening. The 4 of them looked at each other, searching for an explanation, an excuse, a way out of the hole they dug themselves. Mom, Dennis finally said, I understand you're angry, but you can't leave us without rooms. We have small children. The same children you wanted to keep away from me by hiring a babysitter? That was... And what about the bank, Dennis? Have you already started disputing the charges? Dennis's face turned chalk white. How do you know about that? I know everything. I know about the WhatsApp group. I know about your plans to take control of the reservation away from me. I know about the fraudulent dispute you're planning with the bank. I know everything. Monica sank into the armchair, covering her face with her hands. Anna looked like she was going to be sick. Ralph and Dennis stood frozen in the middle of the room like children caught stealing cookies. So, I said with a voice that sounded strangely calm even to me, here are your options. You can take your things, which the hotel staff has kindly already packed. You can call a taxi and find another hotel where you pay for your own vacation. Or what? Or what? Ralph asked with a trembling voice. Oh, nothing. That's your only option. You can't do this, Monica screamed, jumping up from the armchair. We're your family. You can't abandon us. I looked directly into her eyes. This woman who for years had tolerated my advice with fake smiles, who talked about me behind my back, who'd turned my son against me. Monica, I said with a calm that surprised even me. Who abandoned whom first? At that moment, I saw in her eyes that she knew exactly what I was talking about. The war was over before they even knew it had begun. The silence that followed my question was devastating. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning, distant voices of other guests in the hallway, the gentle sound of waves on the beach. But in my room, the silence was so thick it seemed to have its own weight. Ralph was the first to try to recover. Mom, this is insane. You can't be serious. Do I look like I'm joking? But the kids. What will the grandchildren think? For the first time since this confrontation began, I felt a stab in my chest. My grandchildren, the only innocent ones in this entire betrayal. The grandchildren will think their parents made very bad decisions, and now they're facing the consequences. You're destroying this family, Anna cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. No, Anna. This family destroyed itself when you decided I was an obstacle instead of a valued member. Dennis stepped toward me with outstretched hands and a gesture of pleading. Mom, please. I know we made mistakes, but we can work this out. We can talk now. You want to talk after months of planning this fraud? It wasn't months, Ralph muttered. No? The WhatsApp group was created the same day you invited me on this vacation, Ralph. The same day. I saw Ralph collapse internally. There was no way to deny the evidence anymore. Okay, Monica said, standing up and showing anger she no longer tried to hide. You want to play the martyr? You want to put on your big drama? Fine. But don't expect us to come back when you feel lonely again. Her words were designed to hurt me, to make me reconsider, to awaken that fear I'd always had, the fear of being alone. Monica, I said, walked to the door and opened it. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who despise me. We don't despise you, Dennis shouted. Then explained to me what finally free of the burden means, or the last day we have to pretend everything's okay. Dennis opened his mouth, but no sound came out. At that moment, Marie appeared in the doorway. She'd been waiting in the hall with the other grandchildren, but looked clearly tormented. What's going on? She asked in a small voice. The kids don't understand why we have to leave. My heart broke a little more. This girl, my granddaughter who'd shown me the messages, who'd been my ally in this discovery, now had to leave too. Marie, I said gently. Come here. She stepped closer and I took her hands. Sweetheart, your parents and I have very serious differences. They have to leave the hotel. But why, Grandma? I looked at Dennis, her father, wondering if he'd finally have the courage to tell his own daughter the truth. Why, Dad? She asked. Dennis's voice was breaking. Dad made big mistakes, Marie. Marie looked at her father, then at me, and in her eyes I recognized an understanding that went far beyond her 17 years. Does this have to do with the WhatsApp group? Everyone froze. Anna turned to her daughter with a panicked look. What do you know about that? I know everything, Mom. I know what you said about Grandma. I know you never wanted her to come. I know you just used her to pay for everything. The silence that followed was different. It was no longer tense with denial, but heavy with the shame of recognition. Marie, Anna tried to explain. Things aren't that simple, aren't they? Marie pulled away from my hands and turned to her parents. Isn't it true you created a group without Grandma to make fun of her? Isn't it true you planned to dispute the bank charges so you wouldn't have to pay anything? Isn't it true you hired a babysitter so we wouldn't spend time with her? Each question was like a blow. I watched my sons and daughters-in-law literally shrink under the weight of a teenager's words who'd seen through their lies. You hurt the only person who's always been there for us, Marie continued, tears in her eyes but her voice firm. Grandma sold her wedding ring to pay for this vacation. Did you know that? She sold Grandpa's ring. Ralph sank into a chair as if his legs couldn't hold him anymore. You sold your ring? I needed the money for the deposit, I replied. Mom, Dennis looked sick. We didn't know, because you never asked. You assumed I had unlimited money for your whims. Monica, who'd been silent during Marie's speech, finally spoke. Fine, we're leaving, but this won't be without consequences. This is a promise. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You can't treat your family like this and expect there to be no consequences. Monica, I said, stepping directly in front of her. I didn't treat my family badly. My family treated me badly. What's happening now are the consequences of your actions, not mine. Ralph stood from the chair. Mom, please, can we somehow fix this? Fix what? Delete the messages you wrote? Cancel the fraudulent bank dispute? Give me back the respect you took from me? We can apologize. Are you apologizing because I caught you, or do you really regret it? Ralph couldn't answer. Exactly. At that moment, Michael knocked gently on the open door. Excuse me for interrupting, Mrs. Wagner. The taxi is ready. And for the family, he glanced at my sons. Their belongings are in the lobby. The hotel can help you find alternative accommodation if you wish. Thank you, Michael. Taxi, Anna asked. Are you leaving too? Yes, Marie and I are going to another hotel where I can truly enjoy the vacation I deserve. Marie is going with you? Dennis looked genuinely surprised. I looked at my granddaughter, who nodded determinedly. Marie is the only person in this family who's treated me with respect and honesty. She's the only one who deserves to share this vacation with me. You can't take our daughter, Anna screamed. I'm not taking her. She's choosing to come with me. Marie, Dennis spoke directly to his daughter. You can't do this. We're your family. Dad. Marie looked at him with a mixture of love and disappointment. Grandma is our family too, and you betrayed her. I can't be part of that. It's just for a few days, I added. After that, she can decide if she wants to go back to you or not. This is kidnapping, Monica muttered. No, I said firmly. This is justice. Ralph stepped toward me one last time. Mom, if we leave like this now, nothing between us will ever be the same. Ralph. I put my hand on his shoulder, and for a moment I saw the little boy he'd been before he became the man who'd betrayed me. It'll never be the same again. You made sure of that. I took my suitcase, which I'd packed that morning after my meeting with Michael. Marie already had hers ready. Where are you going? Dennis asked in a resigned voice. To a place where I can be a grandmother, without having to apologize for existing. We walked to the door. In the hallway, the other grandchildren waited, confused and sad, not exactly understanding what had happened, but knowing something important had broken. I knelt in front of them. I love you all so much, I said. And this isn't your fault. One day when you're older, you'll understand why Grandma had to do this. Tom, the little 8-year-old, hugged me tightly. We're not going to build sandcastles anymore? One day, I promised. We'll build the most beautiful sandcastles in the world, when your parents learn how to treat people they love. Marie and I walked to the elevator. As the doors closed, I could see my family in the hallway. My sons defeated, my daughters-in-law angry, my grandchildren confused. In the lobby, Michael was waiting with our taxi. Mrs. Wagner, he said as the driver loaded our suitcases, it's been an honor to meet you. What you did today took a lot of courage. It wasn't courage, Michael. It was survival. As the taxi pulled away from the hotel, I looked out the back window. I could see my family at the entrance with their suitcases, probably calling other hotels to find accommodations. Do you regret it, Grandma? Marie asked. I thought about the question as the landscape passed by. I thought about 40 years of motherhood, sacrifices never acknowledged, love I'd given unconditionally, but had at least expected basic respect in return. No, I finally answered. I only regret it took me so long to value myself. The taxi drove to a small boutique hotel on the coast where I'd made a reservation that morning, a place where a grandmother and her granddaughter could build sandcastles, enjoy quiet dinners, and remember what it truly means to be a family. For the first time in years, I felt free. For the first time in my life, I'd put my own needs first. It was frightening and liberating at the same time. But above all, it felt right. If you enjoyed my story, you can encourage me to write more by sending a donation. Thank you infinitely. The taxi drove along the coastal highway, the ocean stretching endlessly beside us. Marie sat quietly, looking out the window, occasionally wiping away a tear. I reached over and took her hand. Are you okay, sweetheart? I don't know, Grandma. I feel sad and angry and relieved all at the same time. Is that normal? Completely normal. You just did something incredibly brave. You stood up for what's right, even when it meant going against your own parents. Will they ever forgive me? Eventually, yes. But more importantly, will they learn from this? That's the real question. The boutique hotel Michael had recommended was perfect. A small, family-run place called the Seascape Inn. Unlike the Golden Palms Resort with its corporate polish and impersonal luxury, this place felt warm and genuine. The owner, Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman with kind eyes, greeted us personally. Mrs. Wagner and Miss Marie, welcome. Mr. Herman from the Golden Palms called ahead. He spoke very highly of you both. Thank you for accommodating us on such short notice, I said. Nonsense. We always have room for guests who appreciate what really matters. Peace, respect, and genuine hospitality. She glanced at Marie. Your granddaughter looks tired. Let's get you both settled. Our rooms were simple but beautiful. Ocean views, comfortable beds, and a small shared balcony between them. After we unpacked, Marie knocked on my door. "Grandma, can we talk?" We sat on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "What's going to happen now?" Marie asked. "Now? Now we enjoy what's left of this vacation. We build those sandcastles I promised Tom. We have nice dinners. We rest, and we remember what family is supposed to feel like. I mean with Mom and Dad, with everyone." I took a deep breath. "I don't know, sweetheart. That depends on them, on whether they're capable of real change, real remorse, not just being sorry they got caught, but truly understanding what they did wrong. Do you think they will? I hope so. For their sake more than mine." My phone buzzed. Multiple messages started flooding in, first from the official family group, then individual texts from Ralph and Dennis. I read them aloud to Marie. "Mom, please, we need to talk. This is crazy. You can't just abandon your family like this. The kids are crying. How can you do this to them? At least tell us where you are so we can explain." Marie looked at the messages, her face hardening. "They still don't get it, do they? They're still making it about them, about what you did to them." "No," I agreed. "They don't get it yet." I typed a single response to the family group. "I didn't abandon you. I stopped allowing you to take advantage of me. There's a difference. When you're ready to have an honest conversation about respect and accountability, you know how to reach me. Until then, Marie and I will enjoy our vacation." I turned off my phone. The next 3 days were a revelation. Marie and I fell into an easy rhythm. Morning walks on the beach, collecting shells, building elaborate sandcastles that Tom would have loved. We ate at small local restaurants where the food was simple but delicious. We talked about everything. Her dreams of college, her fears about disappointing her parents, her confusion about what family loyalty really means. "Grandma," she said one evening over fish tacos at a beachside shack, "I've been thinking about something. All my life, Mom and Dad taught me that family comes first, that you always support family no matter what. But what they did to you, that wasn't support. That was exploitation. You're right, real family support goes both ways. It's built on mutual respect, not one person constantly sacrificing while others take." When did it start? Them treating you like this? I thought about it, tracing back through the years. Honestly, I think it was gradual. After your grandfather died, I became so focused on being everything for everyone. The perfect mother, the helpful grandmother, always available, always giving. And somewhere along the way, they stopped seeing me as a person with my own needs, and started seeing me as a resource to be used. "But you let them." "I did," I admitted, "because I was afraid. Afraid of being alone, afraid they'd stop needing me, afraid I wouldn't matter anymore. It took this betrayal to show me that being needed isn't the same as being valued." On the 4th day, my phone, which I'd finally turned back on, rang with a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. "Mrs. Wagner? This is Detective Sarah Mitchell from the County Sheriff's Office Financial Crimes Unit." My heart sank. Had my sons actually gone through with filing a false fraud claim? "Yes, Detective? I'm calling about a dispute claim filed against your credit card by a Dennis Wagner. He's claiming unauthorized charges for a hotel reservation. However, when our office contacted National Bank, they informed us you'd already filed a protective alert and provided substantial documentation proving the charges were legitimate. Is that correct?" "Yes, Detective. I paid for a family vacation voluntarily. When I discovered my son's plan to fraudulently dispute the charges, I contacted my bank and documented everything." "I see. Well, I wanted to inform you that we've opened an investigation into Mr. Wagner's claim. Filing a false dispute is a serious offense. It's bank fraud. The evidence you provided to your bank has been very helpful. We'll likely need to interview you formally at some point." After I hung up, Marie looked at me with wide eyes. "Uncle Dennis is being investigated for fraud?" "It appears so." "Good," she said fiercely. "He deserves it." "They all do." "Marie, no, Grandma. I know you want to make excuses for them because they're your children. But what they did was criminal. Not just mean or thoughtless, actually criminal." She was right, of course. And the fact that a 17-year-old could see that more clearly than I wanted to spoke volumes. On our last day at the Seascape Inn, Mrs. Chen joined us for breakfast on the terrace. "You two seem much more peaceful than when you arrived," she observed. We are, I confirmed. This place has been healing. Good. That's what it's meant to be. She paused, then added, Mr. Herman called yesterday. He said your family checked out of the Golden Palms the day you left. Apparently they had some difficulty finding alternative accommodation at the height of the season. I'm sure they managed, I said, feeling only a slight twinge of guilt. He also said he wanted me to tell you something. He said, tell Mrs. Wagner that what she did will probably save her family, even if they don't see it yet. I thought you'd want to know. After breakfast, Marie and I walked on the beach one last time. We'd built an impressive sandcastle over the past few days, complete with towers, a moat, and a bridge made of driftwood. We sat beside it, watching the waves inch closer with each tide. It's going to wash away, Marie said sadly. Everything does eventually, but that doesn't mean it wasn't worth building. Is that what you think about our family? That it's washing away? No, I think it's being rebuilt. Sometimes you have to let the tide wash away what was broken before you can start fresh. My phone rang. It was Ralph. I looked at Marie, who nodded encouragingly. I answered. Mom. His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. Please, can we talk? Really talk? I'm listening. Not on the phone. In person, please. I hesitated. Where are you? We're back home. We drove back 2 days ago. We couldn't afford to stay at another hotel for the rest of the week. His voice broke. Mom, the bank froze my accounts. There's an investigation. I could lose my job, and all I can think about is how we treated you. How we planned to... He couldn't finish. Ralph, I can't fix this for you. Not this time. I know. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to let me apologize face to face. All of us want to. We need to. Give me time to think about it. I'm not ready yet. Okay, that's fair. Mom? Yes? I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. I'm so sorry. After I hung up, Marie asked, Are you going to forgive them? Eventually, probably. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back to how things were. What does it mean? It means accepting what happened, learning from it, and deciding what kind of relationship, if any, we can have going forward. But that's a long way off. First, they need to prove they've actually changed, not just that they're sorry they faced consequences. 2 weeks later, I sat in my living room, the small house I'd lived in since selling the family home after my husband's death. It was modest but mine, filled with photos and memories of a life lived on my own terms, at least in recent years. There was a knock at the door. When I opened it, my entire family stood there. Ralph, Dennis, Monica, Anna, and all the grandchildren. Marie stood slightly apart, having arrived earlier to help me prepare. Come in, I said. They filed in awkwardly, uncertain. The children immediately gravitated to me, and I hugged each one tightly. Whatever happened between me and their parents, these innocent souls deserved love. We sat in the living room, me in my armchair, Marie beside me on the ottoman like a bodyguard. The others arranged themselves on the sofa and chairs, looking uncomfortable. Ralph spoke first. Mom, we've spent the last 2 weeks in family therapy. All of us. Even the kids have had sessions. That's good, I said neutrally. The therapist helped us see a lot of things we'd been blind to. How we'd exploited you, how we'd taken you for granted, how we'd made you feel worthless while taking everything you had to give. Monica spoke next, her voice small. Elizabeth, I was horrible to you. I mocked you behind your back. I excluded you. I made my children think you were an inconvenience rather than the blessing you are. I have no excuse, Anna was crying. You gave us everything and we gave you nothing but contempt. I'm ashamed of who I've been. Dennis cleared his throat. The bank investigation was dropped. I admitted the truth and withdrew the dispute. But I've been suspended from work pending an ethics review. I might lose my job. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and meant it. No, I deserve it. I deserve all of it. What we did to you was not just wrong, it was evil. We treated you like a piggy bank with no feelings. Young Tom, who'd been silent until now, crawled up into my lap. Grandma, Mommy says we were mean to you. I didn't mean to be mean. I love you. I held him close, tears finally spilling down my cheeks. I know, sweetheart. You weren't mean. You were perfect. Ralph leaned forward, hands clasped. Mom, we're not asking you to forgive us right away. We know we don't deserve it. We're not even asking you to help us financially. We need to learn to manage on our own, however hard that is. We're just asking for a chance to show you we can change, that we can be the family you deserved all along. I looked at each of them, seeing genuine remorse in their eyes, but remorse was just the beginning. Here's what I need from you, I said. First, actions, not words. Prove you've changed through how you treat me going forward. Second, respect. I'm not a wallet or a servant. I'm a person who deserves consideration. Third, honesty. No more secret groups. No more talking behind my back. If you have a problem with me, say it to my face. Can you do that? They all nodded. Fourth, I'm changing my will. My lawyer has already drawn up the papers. The house, my savings, everything. It's going into a trust for the grandchildren's education. You won't inherit a dime from me. Monica looked like she might protest, but Ralph put a hand on her arm. That's fair, he said. More than fair. We forfeited any right to your money when we tried to steal from you. Lastly, I want regular family dinners, but on equal terms. Sometimes at my house, sometimes at yours. We take turns hosting, cooking, planning. I'm not the family servant anymore. Agreed, they said in unison. Then we'll try. Slowly, carefully. But I'm not making any promises. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. We understand, Anna said. We'll do whatever it takes. The children, sensing the tension had lifted, began chattering about school, friends, activities. Tom snuggled deeper into my lap. Marie caught my eye and smiled. It wasn't forgiveness yet. It wasn't trust restored. But it was a beginning. 6 months later. The sandcastle was magnificent. Tom, true to form, had designed an elaborate fortress with multiple towers. The younger grandchildren decorated it with shells and seaweed. Marie helped engineer a working drawbridge. We were back at the beach, not the Golden Palms Resort, but a public beach near my house. A real family outing, planned together, everyone contributing. Ralph and Dennis set up the picnic, actually working together instead of leaving everything to their wives. Monica and Anna chatted with me genuinely, asking about my recent trip to visit an old friend, listening to my answers. Grandma, Tom called. Come see? We finished. I walked over to admire their creation. It was beautiful, destined to be washed away by tomorrow's tide, but beautiful nonetheless. It's perfect, I told them. Just like our family, little Emma said. Daddy says we're building something new. That's right, sweetheart. Sometimes you have to wash away the old before you can build something better. Ralph came up beside me. Mom, thank you. For what? For not giving up on us. For teaching us the hardest lesson we've ever learned. For showing us that love doesn't mean accepting abuse. You're welcome. But you did the hard part. You chose to change. As the sun set over the ocean, painting the sky in brilliant colors, I sat in my beach chair surrounded by my family. It wasn't perfect. There were still awkward moments, still things left unsaid, still wounds healing. But it was real. It was honest. It was built on respect rather than exploitation. Marie sat in the sand beside my chair. You did it, Grandma. You saved them by refusing to enable them anymore. We did it, I corrected. You were brave enough to show me the truth. Do you regret it? The hotel, kicking them out, all of it? I thought about that week. The betrayal, the pain, the moment I'd stood up for myself for perhaps the first time in my adult life. No, I said firmly. I regret nothing. That moment in the hotel, when I canceled those rooms, that was the moment I got my life back. That was the moment I remembered my worth. And now I'm free. Free to love them without losing myself. Free to give without being taken advantage of. Free to be a mother and grandmother on terms that honor us all. The tide was coming in, beginning its slow work on the sand castle. The children shrieked and laughed, running back and forth between the waves. My sons and daughters-in-law cleaned up the picnic, working together, occasionally glancing my way with expressions that mixed gratitude and lingering shame. Marie leaned her head on my shoulder. I love you, Grandma. I love you too, sweetheart. Thank you for being brave with me. As darkness fell, we gathered our things to head home. Tom took my hand as we walked across the sand. Grandma, can we come back next week and build another castle? Absolutely. Every week if you want. Even if it just washes away? Especially because it washes away. The washing away is what makes room for something new. In my car, driving home with Marie beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not just contentment, but genuine joy. I'd lost a lot that week at the Golden Palms. I'd lost my illusions about my children, lost money I'd never get back, lost the false peace of avoiding conflict. But I'd gained something far more valuable. Myself. The woman who'd walked into that hotel believing her worth was measured by what she could give others was gone. In her place was a woman who knew her value, who demanded respect, who understood that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst behavior. As I pulled into my driveway, my phone buzzed with a message from Ralph. Thank you for today. Mom, thank you for giving us another chance. We won't waste it. I smiled and typed back, see you next Sunday for dinner. Your turn to host. I walked into my small house, the one I'd made into a home on my own terms. Photos of my grandchildren lined the walls. Books I'd been meaning to read were stacked by my favorite chair. The quilt my mother had made me was draped over the sofa. It was quiet. It was mine. It was enough. For the first time in 65 years, I was enough, and that I'd learned was the greatest freedom of all. The end. If you enjoyed my story, you can encourage me to write more by sending a donation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.